You can create your own scene for your game in Sansar and then link to it from the main GameFest scene. So in this example, I'm going to make a simple scene, and I'm going to take this object, this little cyberpunk building, and make that a teleporter to teleport over to this other scene. First, let's go ahead and make the new scene. We'll do this from the Create menu from Build Worlds. I'll click Create. I'm going to call this Example World. And for the starting content, I'm going to choose the living room set template scene. The base template scene will just give you this empty grid world. So that's the one to use if you want to just create everything from scratch. And then these other ones will give you a little bit of a starting point to build out your environment. Now I'll click Edit Scene to actually go there and edit it. Oh, wait, first I should save these changes over here. Now I'll go back to the Build Worlds option and go and choose this new world and start editing it. You can see that this template scene gives us a whole bunch of little starter content that we can use to organize a little living room environment. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to bring in a screen and put that up over here on the wall. I'll go back to my inventory, and I have this screen object that I made in one of those last scenes. Let's bring that in here. Remember, this one, the size is going to be a little bit small, so I need to scale that up, and let's rotate this around so that it is facing the right direction. And I'll move it back here to put it onto the wall. Now this still has this little sprite sheet animation going on it. So I'm going to change that to actually be a YouTube stream instead. I'm going to bring up the object structure and right click on screen at the top level, bring up the materials. I'm going to change the shader, so instead of using the standard emissive and UV animation shader, I'm going to go down to using the media surface shader. And save those settings. So now I just have this kind of color bar test pattern going on the screen. Now the way that I choose which video to play on this is actually not in the object properties or in the shader or material properties like you might think, but it's actually in the scene properties. You get at this under Tools in the Scene Settings. And this is also where you would turn on things like collision, gravity, the background skybox, and brightness for doing global illumination, fog, post-processing like posterization and bloom, whether to use global illumination, the background sound settings, different audio streams that you can have in the scene, and finally down here, the media surfaces section. Now, there's only one media stream at a time that you can have in the in a Sansar world. I'm going to call this movie, and then I'm going to put in the URL that I want to play. If you're playing YouTube streams, there's a specific way to format it. What you're going to do is use the embed code right here. So you do youtube.com/embed and then the video ID. And then in the parameters, after the question mark, you set autoplay to 1, loop is equal to 1, controls is equal to 0, allow full screen is equal to 1, and then the playlist is equal to the same video over here. So that way it just locks onto that one video. It doesn't continue on to any other auto-suggested videos in YouTube and that kind of thing. So the background sound right here is set on none. I'm now going to change that over to be the media stream, and so that will play the audio from the media surface that I've got going on. Now again, just a thing to point out, again, we can only have one media stream playing in a Sansar world at a time. So that can be a YouTube video, it can be a Twitch stream, it can also just be any arbitrary URL. So you can also do things like presentations using slides.com and then embed other videos into that, right? And other kinds of content, and have that fed into it. Essentially what the media surface is a Chromium HTML renderer. So it really is just taking any kind of HTML content and rendering that into a texture that plays on this surface. Okay, so I think we're set with this world right now. I'm going to go ahead and click Build. All right, it's finished building. I'm not going to visit it right now because I'm actually just going to go back to my other world, my GameFest world, and I'm going to edit that. Now, while I'm here in the My Worlds dialog box, I want to go to this new world that I just made. Maybe we can rename this. Instead of being called example world.scene, I'm going to call this one living room scene. And I'm also going to rename the world living room, so it's a little bit more descriptive. Now I'm going to go over here to these options and also choose the copy URL. So here's the full URL, atlas.sansar.com experiences Rensselaer GSAS 2536/example world. And off screen I'm just going to make a note of that because we're going to need it a little bit later. The two things that are important here are Rensselaer GSAS 2536, which is my username, and then example world is the name of the world. Now let's go back to the GameFest world and edit that some more. I'm going to take this little cyberpunk house and turn that into a teleporter that will link over to this living room world, so I can go inside that house and that will load into that experience. I'm going to bring up the inventory and again look at scripts. And for this one, I'm going to use the Sansar script library because all the functionality that we need is built in here. I'm going to drag that onto the object. And then bring up the properties to edit it. So the Sansar script library script actually has a whole series of different subscripts inside it that do different behaviors. And then you can connect them together using an event system and just making more copies of the Sansar script library with different subcomponents activated. So the first one right here is the interaction component. And what that will do is basically like interact when you click on the object. The way this is set up right here is I'll show you an interaction prompt. So we'll say click me, that'll prompt you to click on it. Where it says this click right here, there are two events that get sent. An event called on and an event called off when you click on the object. Clicking the first time will send this first one. Clicking on it again will send the second one. You can chain more of them after that just using these two little arrow brackets. So what we'll do is use this interaction script first to then connect over to other scripts like the teleport script. This little message that says click me right here, and we'll give it a message called on. I turned off the off one because I don't think I really need that one in there. And so that will just send this message, this event message, whenever it's clicked. And you can tell here on the left, things that generate event messages have a little arrow after them, and things that receive event messages have a little arrow before them. All right, now let's drag the Sansar script library onto the object again. And so now it's made a second one. Let's go to the second one and change it from interaction to prompt. And I'll show that when I receive an on event, which came from my interaction up here. Let's change the prompt message to say, I want to come over and watch a movie. I'll say, sure. And then the event that this will send, instead of calling it on, we don't want to use that because then I'm just going to get an infinite loop. Let's call it go. Now I'll drag Sansar script library a third time onto that same object, and I add a third script. Let's go down here. We'll change that to teleport. Right there. I'm not doing a local teleport. So a local teleport moves you to somewhere else inside this current scene. Instead, I'm going to do a remote teleport right here. So I'm going to have a remote teleport respond to this event called go, which comes from the little prompt dialog box above. Now I need to put in the destination owner and scene of where I want to go to. I'm putting in my own username right here as the scene owner. Again, if you're doing this, you make a world. Just tell us what your username is, or just send the URL because it's always part of the URL for the world. And the scene that I'm going to is example. So that should be all set. Let's go ahead and save that. All right, and let's go visit and check it out.
future with mass unemployment, young people are forced to sell blood. Something I can do.
You should see the boy and shut up. I was the one who was going to be 100 years old.
I saw him again. The way you were sent to me. That was a big, honest idea. I am not.
So this, of course, is the movie Sunspring, which is a script written entirely by an AI. Uh, but we'll leave it right there. I didn't actually put in a teleport to get back to the main GameFest world, but that will show you
What do you mean?
basically how to create your own kind of customized environment for your game if you want, and then link it out from the other space.